to be back again for an unplanned F1 chat. Although this one is a bit different because qualifying for the Bahrain Grand Prix has just finished, and after a long time, I'm delighted to be joined by Mike from F1 Fanatics again, and they've also got the Indie Fanatics YouTube channel now, but we're going to talk about the qualifying, and we're probably going to end up going off topic again like we usually do, but nice to have you on, Mike.
Thank you for having me back on, Raz. Always enjoy chatting F1 about you. And like you said, it's been a while, so we needed to kind of have another video chat to make sure we can catch up on F1. And yes, why not talk about the qualifying that just happened in Bahrain? Some interesting things ahead, some predictables as always, because Mercedes front row lockout and Lewis Hamilton on pole, as it's been for much of the 2020 season. But yeah, it'd be interesting to talk about that, and I'm sure, like you said, we'll end up on F1 tangents because that's what we do when we get together and talk F1.
Yes, that's what we do. But first of all, Lewis Hamilton taking his is it 95th pole now, is it?
I believe it's 95th career pole, yes.
So what do you think about that one?
It was another dominating performance from him, wasn't it? Max gave everything that he absolutely could, but still was absolutely nowhere near it. And not even Valtteri Bottas, although Bottas had struggled most of the weekend, it looked like. It wasn't one of his stronger tracks, but Lewis, cruise control. Another one closer to those 100th pole positions. Yeah, top stuff from Lewis Hamilton.
So, and one of the other big talking points was that Albon managed to get into fourth on the grid. So
yeah, it has to be said it was a good performance, wasn't it, from Albon?
Especially after that massive crash yesterday. But do you think that is enough to save his seat?
I think if he finishes fourth, I think that's enough. Not maybe to keep his seat, but if he finishes at least fourth for the next 3 races, it might well be enough to keep it. The problem is will he also be in a position to help Max out? Because he was 7/10 off Max's time, I think. Wasn't it in the end? Might be wrong on that one, but I think he was about 7/10 off Max's time. So it's still not great. It's still not saying definitely pick me, especially as Checo put in another very good qualifying performance in the Racing Point. But still, it wasn't a bad performance from Alex Albon.
So yeah, I mean, me personally, I think it's over for Albon, but you know, because I think Marco said before that the backup driver or the second driver, or you know, whoever gets that seat needs to be at least within 3/10 of Max. That's what I heard. But again, I don't think it's. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be Perez either. I think it's going to be Nico Hülkenberg for next season. Because I think there's speculation of Checo might be taking a year out.
Yeah, I mean, it will be a huge crime not a huge crime. You know, it feels unjust if Sergio Perez isn't on the grid for 2021, as he is one of the best drivers on the current grid, and he well and truly deserves it. And he has the financial backing as well, which makes it so confusing, and it makes it go sometimes that F1 seats aren't just about talent; it's about you know, it's about a whole kind of load of reasons piecing together. And Sergio Perez, unfortunately, has played the game of musical chairs and has ended up without a seat. And yeah, taking a year out. Hopefully, this wouldn't be the end of his Formula One career, but I just don't know because time quickly moves on from you.
Yeah, I mean, even Nico Hülkenberg said the only reason. I mean, even Nico Hülkenberg, I read in a German article. Yeah, there's more. I read in the German news and some British news as well. He said that had he not, if it massively helped him that he has had these firefighting call out um, by Racing Point, because now his name was back in the head, so to speak. So, but coming back to like the qualifying, I think I think who do you think is gonna end up getting the third place? Because obviously McLaren with Sainz just having that issue potentially have blown a massive chance of getting the third place.
Yes, potentially, but you never know come race day because Renault are the only two to have both of their cars get into Q3. But then Lance Stroll and Carlos Sainz will have free choice of tyre, and assuming that Carlos Sainz's issue is fixable and he doesn't have a grid penalty to take, because it only takes Sergio Perez to be involved in a first lap incident, and then Renault are getting big points with points with a double points finish again. So the third place race, honestly, so fascinating, isn't it? And that really is the excitement of the 2020 season. And if if Mercedes and Red Bull, or if Mercedes and Max Verstappen weren't there, it would be a hell of a season in terms of a title fight in both the constructors and the drivers' championship. But yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? I don't know which way it's going to go. Racing Point look favourites, but it does rely on Checo cashing in. But you wouldn't put it past Checo to have a great race result tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, how gutted was you that Lance blew it two weekends ago at the last race?
Yeah, it was really unfortunate for Lance. Brilliant drive for pole. He is fantastic in those wet conditions. Throughout his career, he's consistently showed that. Unfortunate getting some damage on his front wing, which caused the understeer that meant that he could never really get the tyre temperature or get the balance of the car right going forward in the race. And confusing because he looked quick in qualifying today as well, but struggled and obviously went 13th, just Q2. Couldn't get it together on the medium compound tyre for whatever reason. So he will definitely be frustrated on that. But yeah, it was disappointing for Lance, but he's definitely stepped up and improved this year, has to be said.
So So what like? Because I really like these night races. I'm really looking forward to like tomorrow because the sparks and everything. What do you think about that one? Because I absolutely love it.
I love a night race. I'm absolutely with you on that one, Raz. The cars look spectacular on a night race. There's something about it. It's different. The atmosphere of it just kind of feels a little bit cool. So yeah, we've got 3 night races, 3 kind of like races in the desert to finish off. So yeah, very cool. I love a good night race.
So yeah, so if you had to put money on who's going to win tomorrow,
Well, sorry, the safe money is Lewis Hamilton. I think he's been the safe money all season, has he not? But yeah, I think. What do I go? Yeah, Lewis is the safe bet.
Lewis is the safe bet. Outrageous prediction for tomorrow.
Renault to take advantage in the Constructors' Championship.
Okay. I've tweeted Mark Priestley, my friend Mark Priestley, yesterday and said, "Oh, for all we know, Urban might actually win the race and keep the seat." But I think that's never going to happen.
No, I don't think it will happen. No.
But because we've not had a chat about Formula One for such a long time. Seems like ages. Well, what did you think about the races so far? Like that we haven't been able to speak.
It's been an interesting season, certainly. I think so far. It's mad. Although we've had an element of, is boringness the right word? Predictability is probably the right word, because there has been so much excitement throughout the season, but predictability that Mercedes smashed the constructors and Lewis gets the title wrapped up with multiple races to go. But we've had 12 different podium sitters in the season so far. Some fantastic performances. Ricciardo on the podium, Checo on the podium. Sebastian Vettel getting on the podium last time out was fantastic to see. Gasly's win in Monza. There have been some absolutely sensational moments in this 2020 season, it has to be said.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, my outstanding 3 performances, and you're probably gonna know who I'm gonna mention, and I think I think I can't hide the fact that I'm a massive fan of Nico Hülkenberg now. I think
no, I don't think you can hide that, Raz.
I think what he did in the first Silverstone Grand Prix, obviously putting it on to third. When he got the third place, unfortunately he didn't get to race because of I think it was a spark plug or something that went wrong.
I think it was a spark plug. I think you're right. It was so painful, wasn't it? Just before the start of the Grand Prix, you're like, he's done all that hard work and now he can't race. It seemed desperately unfair, didn't it?
Yeah, and then and then he got this second race. Obviously, he did amazingly well to but my outstanding performance of the season has to be the Eiffel Grand Prix, because he was meant to be doing punditry for RTL, and then he said he got the phone call like an hour before. He said, Otmar said, "Oh, screw your punditry, we need you," or something. And
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing performance from Nico Hulkenberg, wasn't it? For that race.
yeah, and yeah, I mean, it was so great that I actually tried to get, I actually tried, because Racing Point actually did bring out a limited edition of his cap on Twitter, but
Yeah.
I think they had like 30 of them, but I couldn't get one.
Oh, mate, gutted
So
for that. Gutted for that. If anyone's got one, can you get it to Raz?
So I ended up actually buying his personal one when he was with Renault. So
I've seen you wearing it recently. You've been massively supporting your man Nico Hulkenberg and hoping that he does get a chance on the 2021 grid.
I really do want to see him on the 2021 grid. But I'm also gutted for Perez because obviously because he's driving the socket of the car. And I actually believe that there are drivers in Formula One currently that shouldn't really be there, so to speak. Like I think like Giovinazzi. I mean, nothing against Giovinazzi, but I think he's one of the drivers that is very lucky to still be in Formula One. So, what do you think about
that? Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because Racing Point / going to Aston Martin really stuffed Perez, because on performances wise, he never should have been dropped from that team. But hindsight, like you said, F1 seats are massively complicated in the way that they come out. But Giovinazzi, I don't think he's the worst driver on the grid. I think he has talent. It's difficult to stand out in an Alfa Romeo car that for a year and a half of his 2 years in Formula One has been a pretty awful car.
that?
So it's always difficult to stand out. And even if you put the likes of Lewis Hamilton in an Alfa Romeo and a Haas, for an example, he would be doing better than the guys who are in there, but he's still not going to be regularly challenging for points because the car just isn't capable of doing that. So it is difficult and it's harsh to judge those guys. But, if you're saying, does someone like Giovinazzi deserve to stay in the grid more than Sergio Perez? Absolutely not. You're correct in that aspect. There's a lot of guys that you put Sergio Perez ahead of on that current Formula One grid.
And coming on to that, it's like, I think it's massively risky for Haas to go with, or I mean, obviously it's not confirmed yet. But I think it's the most open secret that is the worst kept secret of the Formula One grid, that Haas are going with 2 rookies, in Nikita Mazepin and Mick Schumacher. I think that's massively risky, but what are your thoughts about it?
Big risk, but it's a future plan. It's not basing on getting any results in 2021. I think they'd already written off 2021. The risk is, do they have the development knowledge to give them the head start that Haas will need going into the 2022 rules and regulations changes? Also probably not, but Nikita Mazepin brings them funding that, you know, they could probably do better within Formula One with his support and backing, because we know Haas are a low budget Formula One team, and Mick Schumacher also probably brings in some big funding along the way because his name is Mick Schumacher, but also shown talent in Formula 2, let's not forget. From there, Nikita Mazepin has had a good Formula 2 season. I think actually Josh's latest video, Josh Revel's latest video on Mick Schumacher sums up them both well. But look, it is a big risk, but they're also thinking about the long-term future of the team. And if it means that the team get funding to become a bigger team and get better drivers in the future, then is it a price and a risk worth taking for the short term?
Yeah, but my only concern is, are they going to be allowed to become a bigger team with the links that they unquestionably have with Ferrari?
Well, it's a good question. You never know. By being a customer team, will you ever be able to be a big one? Because the manufacturers rule the roost at the moment. You know, Red Bull are the most successful customer team recently, and even they haven't won anything significant. Obviously, they've won races, but they haven't won anything in terms of championships in the entire hybrid era. So is it just a manufacturer's game at the moment? So, yeah, I honestly don't know that one, Raz, but they've always been very persistent in themselves that they are an individual team, they are independent, and their goal is to rise to the competitive end of Formula One.
Yeah, and what do you make of the latest, like, I think yesterday, I think yesterday, or, you know, I don't know when the press conference was, but I was made aware of it yesterday. Obviously, we've got the budget cap coming in 2022 or one or something, for the
I believe
teams.
it's next year the budget cap starts coming in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we've got the budget cap coming in, but there's also been talk that the drivers' salaries are being capped, aren't they? And the one that is very the one who's very outspoken about that is none other than Lewis Hamilton. What do you think about that?
Difficult, isn't it? Because if you look in any other sports, the biggest stars get the biggest amount of money. I don't know. It's a really difficult one. They're the guys who put themselves in the car that have a risk that they might not walk away with the car. Obviously, in 2020, that risk is significantly reduced compared to, say, the 1960s. But, you know, there still is a risk for career-ending injuries, at the very least, to happen within crashes within Formula One, although the likelihood is lower. And they're the stars of the show. A lot of people watch Formula One to watch their favourite drivers. They're the ones who are in the spotlight. They're the ones with the media. They're the ones who are constantly surrounded. It's not the guys in the factory. You know, there isn't as much media surrounding. They're the ones in the public eye who are probably attracting the sponsors, who are the ones who talk for the sponsors, who the sponsors want to attach themselves to. So therefore, they bring in a lot of that money. So why shouldn't they receive a share of that money? It's not something I've necessarily probably looked too far into. On a sensible basis to keep costs down, a cost cap makes sense. but I can understand drivers feeling like they're entitled to still earning the big bucks. And obviously, if you're earning about 60 million a year, I don't know what Lewis Hamilton actually is on, but if he's on, say, something around that, let's be honest, you're not going to want that to be reduced, especially if you're saying that he's the best, one of the best full time, which he is. Do you think it's fair that Hamilton and, say, like a Nicholas Latifi should be paid the same?
No, I get where you're coming from, but on the other hand, I would say yes, it's a danger. But as I said, nobody holds a gun to their head and says, you drive a Formula One car, and at the end of the day, it's like, at the end of the day, it's also a privilege to be driving a Formula One car. At least that's what I'm thinking. It's like, I don't know how you feel, but I mean, I can only speak from like personal experience. But even like, when I started this channel 4 years ago, I never ever expected to be having people like Natalie Pinkham and Will Buxton on, and it's a massive privilege to be asking them questions, and I would, if I could, I would drive a Formula One car for nothing, just to be able to drive a Formula One car. Now, I think yes, they need, obviously they need to earn money and all that, and they need to look at the future. But what I would do is get Formula One, put a cost cap in for about, I don't know, 20 million or something maximum, and then allow the drivers to, because allow the, if they want to attract, if sponsors outside or personal sponsors want to pay them, I don't know, another 20 million or whatever to have, I don't know, direct, or BMW on their cap, then so be it. That's how I would do it.
Yeah, having like a cap on the actual salary and any sponsorship on top of that, goes directly and is not included in that. Not necessarily included in the teams. But then you could say that if it comes through the sponsors of the team, is that technically earnings through them, like dealings? It gets all a little bit complicated in there. Like, it's difficult. I would say I don't know. I don't know what F1 drivers pension wise is there, but technically Formula One is potentially a very short career. Lewis Hamilton obviously has had quite a long career, currently spanning 13 years. Kimi Raikkonen as well, 20 odd years. It will be 20 years, I think, coming into next year. So, they've had a long time within the sport, but that's not the norm. So for a lot of the drivers, it's maybe 3, 4, 5 years getting a big contract to kind of see them through, earn some money that helps them in later life. Because I don't know where the pension kind of comes into play in all of this. It's a lot easier for, say, an engineer, a mechanic, a strategist to spend 20, 30, 40 years within Formula One if they want to, than a driver. A driver has a much shorter shelf life, so therefore they've got to make all their money in a shorter space of time and then look after it after that.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't see, or maybe I'm wrong, but you wouldn't. See, I doubt you would see somebody like Lewis Hamilton at 54, wanting to do a similar thing like Mike Tyson is currently rumored to be doing, for so I can get your point on that one. So but it's very difficult, isn't it? I mean, I would say we just got to wait and see on that one. But for you, how do you think Formula One has dealt with COVID and all that? Because I thought we didn't even gonna have a season.
I thought, I mean, I'm pretty sure we had a chat of confused of how many races we may or may not get in terms of it. But obviously, we're going to end with, was it 17 races in the end?
Yes.
It's going to be our full calendar.
Yes.
So I think Formula One have to take huge credit during a global pandemic, and especially Europe, which is one of the biggest affected areas in the world by COVID, and still, the restriction in place. Obviously, we both living in UK, still in a current lockdown right now. It's been absolutely incredible that F1 have been able to put on this season. Yes, it's been a shame with no fans. Yes, obviously not being able to go to races as a fan. Obviously, I was planning to go to the British Grand Prix. Other fans I know were planning to go to other races. But through all the sacrifices and everything that was meant to be made, and all how other sports have been affected, it is amazing what Formula One have done, being a global sport. I think they are the only worldwide event that has been able to have a full season in 2020, and that's incredible.
Yeah, I just find it amazing that Formula One seems to always being able to find ways of like dealing with stuff. So yeah. So have you got any final words that you wanna say?
No, I think we're good. Other than obviously this is going out tonight, so everyone enjoy the Bahrain GP tomorrow. I hope that it's a fantastic race for us. Bahrain's one of my favourite tracks on the calendar of the kind of most recent tracks. I think it is a really good track. So fingers crossed we get a good race to go alongside of that. Hopefully the battle for third is exciting as we're all hoping it will be. Congratulations, Lewis Hamilton, on his 94th career win, would it be? One of them in terms of that. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton, I'm fully expecting to win tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm still holding out for a crazy race, and I wonder what the odds are on Alex Albon actually winning, and how much money I would make if I would put a coin on. I mean, obviously, I'm not condoning any gambling, but it would be nice to find out, wouldn't it? But anyway,
it'd be very interesting.
Yeah,
Alex those might be quite high.
Anyway, cheers, Mike, for coming on, and I know it's been really short notice, but it's been really awesome to have you on again. And I'm always available to chat. If you want to make another video or something, then we can certainly do that. And I hope you enjoy the race tomorrow. Cheers for coming on.
Thank you very much, mate. Thank you for having me on as always. Make sure if you haven't done so already, subscribe to Raz on F1. Need to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Always a pleasure, mate. Enjoy it as always.
Thank you, mate. Bye.